Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. To see, every day on the John Campea Show, we save time to take live questions, but most of the time we don't have time to get around to all the live questions. So I want to make sure those questions that get sent in that we didn't have time for, they need to get answered in a video. So I gather them up and we address them here on companion videos. Now, I should mention that this is a combination of yesterday's John Campea Show leftover videos or leftover questions and today's. And today is Thursday, May the 9th. So this is going to be the leftover questions from Wednesday, the 8th show, and today, Thursday, the 9th show. And that's what we got here today. So let's not waste any time and let's start getting caught up here. We're going to start things off with David Goldstein, who writes, "Is Episode 9 the last numeric Star Wars movie we will ever get?" That's a good question. I've been thinking about that a little bit myself. Because if they're saying that only the Skywalker saga, and this is the end of the Skywalker saga, if that's what the episodes are, then yeah, this will be the last one. But I think the Star Wars episodic tale goes beyond just the Skywalkers. So I don't know this, no insider information. I'm just guessing, just a guess, that we are going to see episode 10 someday. All right, next up, Tristan Larson writes, Batwoman is gay, woohoo, representation matters. Representation does matter. And you know, it's kind of nice to have one finally there. Now, you could make an argument. See, they're saying that Batwoman will be the first lead character, lead gay character in the CW universe. I would argue that White Canary is kind of the lead character of Legends of Tomorrow, although not literally. So I would kind of make that argument, but whatever. I'm curious to see how good. The important thing is I'm curious to see if this show's any good. That's the important thing. But yes, representation does matter. All right, Colin Tucker writes, rewatch Blade Runner 2049. What a great movie. Look, I've never liked the original Blade Runner. I've always been in the minority on that. I understand. But yeah, I like 2049 quite a bit. It's too bad they blew the marketing campaign and it lost so much money. Madsif Jada writes, it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. Indiana Jones. I believe that's from the first one. That's from Raiders of the Lost Ark, I believe. I love that line. It's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. It's a great line. Rias writes, in MCU, any instances of time travel create new timelines. Removing stones creates chaos in those timelines. Many having trouble with the distinction because that's a BS distinction. I mean, honestly, straight up, that's a BS distinction. Because any change in a timeline can create chaos, right? That's butterfly effect. I mean, you can go in and move a popcorn machine from one corner of the theater lobby to the other, and it could cause the chain effect of that could be massive. So the reason many people are having this trouble with that distinction is because it's a BS distinction. It really is right off the top. All right. Unbeatable writes, can we finally talk spoilers for Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis yet? I told you, not until 2024. That's the only time that it's safe to talk about spoilers for Hudson Hawk. Man, I haven't had Hudson Hawk brought up in a while. That's a good one. Ryan Lohner writes, Game of Thrones is now a war between two Sarah Connors? Oh, because Emilia Clarke played a Sarah Connor, and of course Cersei also played Sarah Connor in the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That's a good, I've never thought about that, Ryan. Good observation. The Bomb Horse writes, I think with some research, they could have retooled the Hellboy movie into an anthology film. Are you talking like an anthology film, like there's 4 separate stories, like 4 different Hellboy adventures in one movie? I don't know if that would have taken some reshoots and a little bit of retooling. I think that would create a massively different film. But considering how hard Hellboy flopped, Bomb Horse, maybe that's would have been the best thing for them to try. Who knows? Maybe that's something they'll try in the future. It'd be interesting to see like a superhero film take that approach. It would be neat to see. Kind of like a Sin City approach a little bit. Slevin89 writes, do you think Sam Raimi will ever do The Shadow? Listen, I got really excited because I like that old Alec Baldwin and Ian McKellen movie, The Shadow. I'm a sucker for it. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I like that movie a lot. And I got excited when I first heard that Sam Raimi will be doing it. But there's been a number of projects over the past couple of years that have said to have been attaching Sam Raimi to them. And we've seen and heard nothing about a lot of them. I'm having my doubts that we're ever going to see that Shadow movie. I'm going to guess no. Again, no insider information. This is just me as a fan taking a guess, but I'm going to guess probably not. Holland Love writes, is it okay if Supergirl jobs to Batwoman? No, not really. It's not good to have any of these heroes job to anybody, but, you know, look at the Arrow and Flash. they've each kind of bested the other at different times. They've always made sure they kept that kind of equal. You know what I mean? So I have no problem if they show Batwoman besting Supergirl once to prove her worth, as long as it doesn't then become pathetic where Supergirl goes, "Oh, Batman or Batwoman, you are Earth's real hero. Earth doesn't need me here because you're the best and I suck," the way they treat Superman. So I don't mind a little tit for tat, a little back and forth. That's fine. But yeah, as long as they don't completely humiliate one at the expense of the other, then I'm totally fine with it. Because that's what Flash and Arrow have done, and they've done it very well. Mr. Spooky Spare writes, John, It Chapter 2 trailers tomorrow. Clearly this was a super chat from yesterday, and it did drop today. Basically what the whole trailer was. Remember me and Rob were telling you guys that at CinemaCon, they showed us this elongated scene that was wonderful and had everybody freaked out? Well, that trailer, with the scene of her going back and being in that old woman's apartment, the whole trailer was just basically a shortened version of what they showed us at CinemaCon. And it's great. And I love it. I wish they showed the whole thing, but I guess that's a little bit too long. But it's wonderful, and I'm very excited for this movie. I'm very, very excited for it, Chapter 2. The Orange Hand writes, better end music, Now We Are Free or Into the West? Gladiator. Into the West. I love that music, Now We Are Free, at the end of Gladiator. If you guys know, I'm a huge Gladiator fan. Love that movie. And as marvelous as that piece is, I think Into the West was even a little bit more fitting. So I'll take Into the West over Now We Are Free. Green Arrow 7 writes, my Canadian girlfriend, well, you're winning right there already. My Canadian girlfriend got me to watch The Princess Bride for the first time? Dude, that's like an all-timer. You gotta see Princess Bride. Anyway, You Killed My Father, Prepare to Die. I love this movie so much. It is kind of cool when you get to watch a movie that you're a little bit behind on, and a lot of that almost everybody else has seen and you've heard everybody else talk about, and then it dawns on you, it's like, this is why everybody talks about it. Inconceivable. Princess Bride is one of the most, I'm not gonna say it's one of the best movies ever made, but it is, I feel comfortable saying it is one of the most special movies ever made. To me, it's one of the most special movies ever made. I'm glad you finally had a chance to watch it, and good on your Canadian girlfriend for getting you to watch it, man. That's a keeper. Ryan Lohner writes, if this Cruella movie is good, maybe she can cross over with John Wick, Avenge the Puppies. Yeah, we've been talking about Cruella, like, where's this Emma Stone Cruella thing? It's funny because they announced it ages ago. It got a little bit delayed, but there were some news reports just a month or two ago that they're probably going to start shooting later this year. And again, Emma Stone is Cruella. It's interesting. I'm curious to see it. I'm not super excited about it, but curious to see what direction they go with it, especially if you've got a performer like Emma Stone in it. Jeremiah Hernandez writes, hey, John, big fan of the show. Thank you so much, man. Have you heard that Joe and Anthony Russo have said that on the early script for Endgame, it had Thor fighting himself? I hadn't heard that, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, clearly, in the movie, we got something like that with Captain America fighting himself. You could probably do visual effects-wise something a little grander with Thor versus Thor, but I like seeing Cap versus Cap. I'm certainly glad they didn't do both. That would feel a little bit too gimmicky. Look, there's a lot of stuff in Endgame that was just pure fan service, but I think that one would have been pushing it a little bit too much, you know what I mean? So I think it was a good decision not to have that. Nerds of Porn writes, John, in Doctor Strange, the Ancient One mentioned multiple universes. I'm not surprised Marvel is going that route for the future. We don't know that they are. I mean, I take the trailers at face value right now, but Robert Meyer Burnett is absolutely convinced, and I know there are some of you guys who are absolutely convinced that Mysterio is lying in the trailer about being from another universe, about the Earth 616 stuff, about the Earth 833, that all that's a lie. Much like the advertising for Iron Man 3 lied to us about Ben Kingsley being Mandarin. Look, it's the Mandarin. Confirmed, it's the Mandarin. Turns out it wasn't. So I am taking the trailers at face value, but there's a lot of smart people that are thinking that it's all BS. So we'll have to wait and see. We're going to find out in just a couple of months. Nerds of Porn writes, John, do you own any Toronto team jerseys? I've got a couple of Toronto Maple Leafs jerseys. Thank you very much. Yes, I do. No Raptors stuff, no Blue Jays stuff, but I do have my Leafs gear. Although I got to get more. Ryan Lohner writes, New Mutants reminds me of how Lawrence Fishburne stopped having to lie about his age while making Apocalypse Now. Dude, I keep forgetting about that. First of all, a lot of people get surprised when they find out Lawrence Fishburne is in Apocalypse Now. And the reason you may have seen him and not even realized it was him, because I believe, if I'm remembering the stories right, I think he was like 14 or 15 or 16, something like that, years old. And he lied about his age to get into the movie. If you haven't had a chance, look it up and you'll see a young Lawrence Fishburne in there, a young Morpheus, if you will. It's kind of a kick to see that. And if you haven't seen Apocalypse Now, one of the great classic films of all time, make sure you watch Apocalypse Now. E-Data writes, the Chinese theater isn't selling tickets for Pikachu. So much for having a chance at being #1 opening weekend. Oh, dude, that has nothing to do with it. Just because one movie theater isn't selling advanced tickets. By the way, they've only got one screen. Remember, the Chinese has one screen. It's not so they might not even be showing Detective Pikachu. They might have a contract to be playing Endgame for ever long. It's just one theater. Now, look, I'm not saying Detective Pikachu is going to take the #1 spot at the box office. I'm not saying that at all. But don't think that just because one theater, one screen isn't selling tickets for one movie, that tells us what the #1 film at the box office this weekend will or won't be. That's all I'm saying, E-Data. That's all I'm saying. All right. Santez Henderson writes, looks like we're getting the world's finest on CW. No, we're not. After all, right? Right, John? That's got to make every comic fan's pants, right? Nah. The one thing I didn't like about well, there are several things I didn't really dig about the crossover event on CW this year. The one before that, Crisis on Earth X, was awesome. But anyway, was that whole, I like the introduction of Batwoman, but the whole world's finest reference, I'm sorry, Supergirl, you're not Superman. And I'm sorry, Batwoman, you're not Batman. You can be both great characters on your own, but you are derivative characters. World's finest is Batman and Superman. You are neither Batman nor Superman. Be your own thing. That kind of bothered me a little bit. But yeah, Santez, that just kind of grinded my gears. Santez Henderson follows up with, I like a Star Wars movie for every other year, not every one. I like it for every one. I mean, look, if you can watch 10 hour-long episodes of your favorite TV show this year, why can't you watch one Star Wars movie per year? I like it every year. I never really thought they should go to 2 films a year. And maybe there's not a good argument for not wanting 2 films a year either. That's just how I felt. I don't really feel more than 1 a year is necessary, but I liked 1 a year. I like having that Christmas tradition. Every year, a Star Wars movie. Fabulous. And anyway, that's just, but it looks like we're going to every other year. Aaron H. writes, John Wick needs to teach Jon Snow how to be a good dog owner. He fought zombies for you and lost an ear, and you're not going to give him a proper goodbye. Well, I mean, look, the one thing is, he put the needs of his direwolf ahead of his own desires. Like he tells Tormund, take him. He'll be happier where you are. And that was more important to him. But yeah, listen, I had a viewing party for that Game of Thrones episode, and all of us were like, why don't you go up and hug the dog? And we were all saying that at the same time. DC Patience writes, I love the movie news feed. Keep it up, please. Yeah, so just so you know, this is how our movie news feed works. And I love having the movie news feed. I really do. It lets us touch on a bunch of other topics, even though if it's just briefly, but we at least get to inform everybody what's going on. We get to touch on these topics, give it a little bit of context to them. So what happens is when I'm writing the show notes for the main day the next day, I gather together the topics. I send those off to fact checker Jonathan. And now, like the way the new movie news feed used to be, I would select the topics, and I would write the script, and I would narrate the script, and then fact checker Jonathan would just edit it all together. Now, I still pick out the topics and send them to Jonathan, but now fact checker Jonathan writes the script himself, and he does the narration. Well, you can tell he does the narration, and he really produces that segment now. I think he's doing a great job, and I really like having as well. So thanks for the input, DC Patience. I appreciate that. Second Street Marvel writes, haha, good one, John. You know we forgive you. Ah, crap. I can't remember what that would have been about, but thank you for the good nature, Second Street Marvel. Leo Milmet writes, I don't like many MCU movies. Black Panther, Ant-Man, and Iron Man were probably my favorites. I like all those. And Captain America movies were okay. So I walked into Endgame with a friend who is a big fan, and I absolutely loved it. It's the first Avengers movie I actually liked. I think the secret was the incredible emotional pull, as well as the fact that the first half felt more grounded than any MCU movie in a long time. Well, look, I think the first 2 acts had some very good high high moments. I really do. I don't know if I'd say, even in the first 2 acts, that movie felt like the most grounded MCU movie. I don't know that I'd say that. I don't know that I would say it was grounded, but it's also not a movie that, in my opinion, should have felt very grounded. You know? It's like watching Schindler's List and saying, that didn't have many laughs. Well, yeah, but it shouldn't have many laughs. I didn't find that Endgame, even the first 2 acts, felt very grounded at all, but it shouldn't have felt all that grounded. I mean, with a lot of high concept stuff they were doing, but that's just my opinion. You saw it that way. Bottom line, though, is, Leo, you enjoyed it, and that's the important thing. So thanks for sharing that, man. Okay. Marvel Man writes, thoughts on the Eternals? I'm unsure, but intrigued. You just summed up my feelings exactly. I am unsure, but I'm intrigued. Here's the thing. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Eternals? Look, nobody knows about the group The Internals. It's so far outside of what the MCU is. No one's going to be interested in this. Come on. Does that sound familiar? It's exactly what we all said when they mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, what? Guardians of the Galaxy? Who the hell needs to make a Nobody even knows who they are. There's not going to be an interest. And look what happened. Turned out to be magnificent. It was a great new dimension for the MCU. So I'm unsure about Eternals as well. I am. But in Kevin Feige we trust. We saw what happened with Guardians. So I am, just like you, Marvel Man, unsure, but intrigued, so I'm with you on that. Dex Stark writes, thanks for always being in my ear while working. Well, thank you for having us along with you, Dex Stark. I appreciate that, man, and thanks for watching the show. Leo Milmet writes, Endgame is now my favorite MCU film by far. Hey, there are a few people that it is also their favorite MCU film by far. I really like it. It's my number 5 favorite MCU film, but that's still really up there. Leo Milmet writes, you look like yourself from the 2000 with the hair. Oh, you're talking about when I had Anne brush my hair to the side. Yeah. And wanted to try doing my hair differently. And guys, little marriage advice. If your wife wants to try something different on you with your hair, you just say, sure, hon, go for it. And smile. That's what you do. That's what I did. So there you go. Leo Milman also writes, to clarify, I like the hair. Well, thank you for the compliment. I'm sure she'll like to hear that. Connor Berry writes, Lucifer is back. Thank God it's back. Are you going to do a review of season 4? I would love to get your thoughts. If I can get through the season fast enough, because here's the thing. I would love to sit down and binge Lucifer, season 4. But it is one of those shows where I'm risking my marriage if I watch an episode without Anne. If I watch one episode without Anne, I am literally putting my marriage in jeopardy. I can't do it. So it's like today at lunch, I was like, oh my God, I want to watch an episode of Lucifer while I'm eating lunch so bad. But I can't because Anne's not here. And there's not many shows. There's not many that I cannot watch an episode without Anne there. This be one. This be one. I can't watch without Anne. So if for some reason Anne and I can get through all of season 4 in the next couple of days, I'll do a review. If it takes me like a week and a half or 2 weeks to watch it, then I don't think I'll do one because it'll be a little bit too little too late. But I hope so. I hope I will have the chance, Connor. All right. Shuriken48 writes, Zoe Saldana is now in 3 of the 5 biggest movies of all time, and Disney owns all of them. Crazy. Yeah, now, remember, a lot of those films were made when they didn't belong to Disney. And yeah, Zoe Saldana is in 3 of the top 5, but it's not like she had a very small role in Endgame. She doesn't even physically appear in Avatar. So let's not read too much into that, but it is fun trivia. And again, let's not give Disney too much credit because a couple of those films were made without them actually being there. So just keep that in mind. All right. Eddie Garcia writes, you're doing a great job on the show, Ashley, John, and Robert. I watch you guys all the time as I build cars. Dude, I wish I could build cars. Dude, I wish I could change a tire. Hell, I have a hard time putting gas in my car. So hats off to you, Eddie. Salutes to you. And thank you for watching our show, man. And we really appreciate it, dude. And thank you for the kind words. Imran Suhail writes, what will work? New Street Fighter movie or series? Well, what will work and what could work are two different things. What will work, new Street Fighter movie or series? Neither. What could work, Street Fighter movie or series? Both could. Look, it's the whole Felipe the sentient dancing microphone argument, right? No matter how ridiculous something is, and I'm not saying Street Fighter is ridiculous. I'm just saying, even if something was totally ridiculous, no matter how ridiculous it is, If you do it the right way, it can work. Lego is a great example of that I always go to. Who was stupid enough to think of a Lego movie? A movie about plastic building blocks. Really? You're going to make a movie around that? And it's awesome. You can take any starting concept. If you execute it just the right way, it can work. And I think a Street Fighter movie or series could work. I don't think either will work, but either of them could. So that's kind of my thought on that. Leo Milmet follows up and writes, do you remember my joke of an email about my Endgame predictions? Leo, the last couple of weeks, I've been getting like over 200 emails a day, so I don't know. I'm just being honest, dude. I don't know. That's the only way it could have been better than it is. I'll send it again. So I can't pull anything off the top of my head because just in the last 3 days, I've probably got 500, 600, 700 emails, so I don't know, man. Rogue writes, so does Captain Marvel not need a helmet in space anymore? She used one in her solo movie, but not in Endgame. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Now, remember, early in the Captain Marvel movie, she had limited power because they kept her short-circuited, right, with the device. They kept her power very, very limited. Once discovering the full potential of her power is one of the consequences of the full potential of power being able to be self-sustaining in space and in a vacuum. I guess, maybe. But I mean, like I said, does she not need a helmet? Well, we saw her in Endgame not need a helmet, just floating there in space. So I guess the literal answer to your question, Rogue, is I guess not. I guess she doesn't need it. Haskell420 writes, hey, John, how are you? I'm doing well, Haskell. Thank you very much. Watchmen trailer is out. Series in fall. Oh my God, this cast. Regina King, Don Johnson, Jeremy Irons, Jen Smart, Tim Blake Nelson, Yaha Abdul Mateen II, Louis Gossett Jr. It is a fascinating cast. And I don't know what I make of the trailer. I'll be honest, I'm not saying it's bad. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying right now, I'm not sure what I make of it. I watched it, I thought, okay, it definitely has a Watchmen feel. It definitely feels like the Watchmen. I'll give it that. I'm not quite sure if I love it or dislike it. I really don't know yet. I think I need to see more content to put it more into context, and then I'll develop more of an idea about it. But it is a remarkably, really cool, very eclectic kind of cast they put together there. I'm fascinated. Fanimator writes, Aladdin has released a new Genie clip. Thoughts? I'm not familiar with it. I don't think I saw it. To be honest with you, so I can't really answer that. Raven at TNS, the CSC38 I recommend yesterday. That was probably an insider conversation going on that I'm not aware of. All right. Adrian St. Fort writes, do you think Endgame has made Warner Brothers and DC rethink their decision to focus less on shared universes? No. Also, will a new younger Batman hamper a sequel to Justice League? I'll only take one question at a time, Adrian. Remember, Warner Brothers made the decision to go more standalone movies and not focus on world building, not focus on universe building, not focus on shared cinematic universe. They made that decision in a world where we have a $1 billion Captain Marvel movie, in a world where we have a $2 billion Avengers Infinity War movie. Like, this was all before Endgame. So no, I don't think just because a Marvel movie that was the accumulation of 22 films, 11 years, blah, 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 did that one thing. I don't know. That didn't make them change their mind. If no other Marvel movie had ever broken the $1 billion club before, and I think they got 6 or 7 of them now, if no other Marvel film had ever done it, and all of a sudden Endgame came out and made $2.3 billion, maybe. But remember, they made those decisions with a Marvel film being a $2 billion film, with 5 or 6 other Marvel films being $1 billion films. So no, I don't think at all that Endgame's sudden success has made them reevaluate their situation. Not at all. Murray Reich writes, The Hustle at 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, shame. Yeah, I never had a good feeling about that one. Now, the movie it's based on, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, with Michael Caine and Steve Martin, which itself was also a remake, by the way. But anyway, the Michael Caine, Steve Martin And by the way, the Emperor Palpatine himself is also in that movie. Anyway, it is one of my all-time favorite comedies. And I saw the trailer and I didn't laugh once. Now, I saw the trailer with audiences and the audience often laughed. I don't know why, but the audience was laughing. So other people were getting a kick out of it, but it just never felt right to me. I love Anne Hathaway, but it just never felt right to me. And I wish I could say I was surprised about its rating, but I'm not. I'm not surprised. I mean, I was hoping it would be better, but not really surprised. JMeister25 writes, Lucasfilm needs a Kevin Feige. All studios do. Well, every studio does, and they kind of have a Kevin Feige and Kathleen Kennedy. She's their guiding voice. That's what every studio needs to have. Like one person to be the point person of the guiding vision. Now, some are going to be better than others, but there you go. Lucasfilm does have theirs. Whether theirs is as good as Marvel's is another discussion altogether, but they do have one. Alan Valley writes, did you like the piano piece at the end of Battle of Winterfell? Game of Thrones composer just announced concert dates in the fall, and I can't wait to hear it live. If I remember it correctly, yes, because I think Anne rewound just that part of the show just to hear the music playing. So if I'm thinking of it right, yeah. I mean, I like a lot of the music in Game of Thrones. To be honest with you, they've got really, really good music. The scores, their sound, it's always very good. Let's see. Jack Hamilton writes, if Justice League was the start to the DCEU, how would you have felt if they didn't include Batman and Superman and just introduced them later? I mean, it depends on how good the movie was, but I mean, if they had come to me and said, John, we're going to start with Justice League, but we're not going to have Batman or Superman, then I would have probably said that's not a good idea. I mean, Batman and Superman are your two pillars. They're the best and most popular comic book heroes in the history of the medium. I mean, you can't have a Justice League and not start with them. Plus, having them there will help build out the other characters. So I would have thought it was a mistake. That would have been my opinion. And maybe I would have been wrong, but that would have been my opinion at the time. Let's see. I'm Upset writes, have you heard of Theodore Rex with Whoopi Goldberg? Oh, yeah. So when I was a kid, I saw that. I remember, too, because the dinosaur looked... Remember the TV show with the I think it was just called Dinosaurs, the TV show? With the big guy in the costume and the baby dinosaur. I was like, not the mama. Remember that? I remember that they looked just like that. They just like that. But thanks for putting that thing in my head again. I thought I'd never have to think about that one again. All right, Curtis Fernandez writes, hey, John, this is my first super chat. Big fan since the AMC days. Well, thank you so much, Curtis. Appreciate that, man. My question is, do you think Detective Pikachu will get an Oscar nomination for visual effects? Impossible to say. We haven't seen... It's only May. We haven't seen many of the films, because you're asking me, will Detective Pikachu be one of the 5 best visual effects movies? There's far too many movies we haven't seen yet this year, right? We got tons of movies coming out later this year that are going to have a lot of visual effects. I mean, we got one just coming out in a couple weeks with Aladdin. Then we've had Game. We're going to have many more. So it's impossible to say or even guess if I think it'll get a visual effects nomination when I haven't seen what the competition is. Because remember, the Academy doesn't just look at a movie and go, does this deserve a nomination? They ask, does this deserve the nomination in a field of hundreds of other films? And does this one deserve to be in the top 5 of those? And until we see what those movies are, it's hard to say. I'll say this. The visual effects of Detective Pikachu didn't jump off the screen at me. I'll just say that. They didn't wow me. That doesn't mean it can't get a nomination. It all depends on how strong the visual effects are for the other films this year. Okay. Where are we at here? Stubble McShave writes, John, ask Rob what he thinks of The Sound of Music. I got to imagine that Rob, like just about everybody else in Hollywood, probably adores the film. I mean, it's a classic, but I will ask him. All right, Eduardo Umanda writes, awesome work. Thank you so much. I love to hear you at the office. I love the concept of the multiverse, and I hope to see more of it in Phase 4. Yeah, I got to admit, here's the thing. I've said this many times. I am not a fan of multiverse. I think that's cheap, lazy, bottom of the barrel, kind of desperate storytelling device. But I also acknowledge it has made a lot of people excited. You're not the only one, Eduardo. It's made a lot of people excited. And if it's making a lot of people excited, then maybe it's a good idea to do. Just because I don't like the particular idea doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. And we'll have to kind of see what their plans are moving forward. Because Rob doesn't think there is a multiverse. He thinks Mysterio's lying. Anyway, Anthony R. writes, 8 movies in Phase 4 so far. So from what we know so far, those movies would be Black Widow, Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Eternals, Captain Marvel 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Shang-Chi, and maybe Avengers 5. Am I close or way off? That's exactly what I think. You know, we talked about that on the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today. Those are the exact movies that I believe we have coming. I think it's those ones specifically. Actually, let me bring this up here. Just give me a second here to see if I can get this loaded up for you so you can see it. So anyway, we were talking about that today on the John Campea Show specifically, about which movies that we're going to have in the upcoming Phase 4. And I said the following. I said this. I thought that, my audio probably just got really weird there for a second. Oh, no, the audio stayed fine. There we go. I think those are the exact movies. I think May 1st, we're going to have Black Widow. Now, in white are the actual dates that we have. The white are not guesses. The white is official. These are all confirmed, these release dates. The stuff in yellow are my guesses of what movies those will be, but they're exactly the same as yours. I believe first we got Black Widow, then it'll be Doctor Strange 2, The Eternals, Black Panther 2, Shang-Chi, Guardians 3, Captain Marvel 2, and then the Avengers 5. And then probably sometime after that, I'm guessing, will probably be Thor 4. So those are my guesses right now, Anthony R. So your guesses are really, 100% in line with mine. 100% in line with mine. Santez Henderson writes, are you excited for Krypton Season 2? Love Season 1. I enjoyed Season 1. I'm not going to say I loved it, but I enjoyed it. And you know what? That's way more than I thought I would. I didn't think that show looked any good. And then I watched it, and I actually really quite got into it. I enjoyed it. I'm not excited about Season 2, but I am intrigued. Because like I said, I had a good time watching Season 1. Let's see where Season 2 goes. Jay writes, Shuri rebuilds Vision and implants Solar Stone in him instead of an Infinity Stone. She's going to be the Scientist Supreme until Reed Richards comes. I think even once Reed Richards comes, I think they're going to keep Shuri as the smartest person in the MCU. Now, some of you may be yelling at your monitors, wait, no, Tony's the smartest person in the MCU. Nope. Kevin Feige and all the producers have verified and confirmed that the smartest person in the MCU is Shuri. And I don't think they're going to change that when Reed Richards comes. I think Reed Richards will probably be the second smartest guy in the MCU. But I think they're going to keep it at Shuri, which only makes sense. Shuri has been operating with technology and on a level that's 1 to 2 decades above the rest of the world. Right? Whereas Reed has been learning and adapting and researching in a world that's 1 or 2 decades behind Wakanda. So it only makes sense that Shuri would be the smartest person in the MCU. Let's see how that all goes. Ryan Lohner writes, David Mamet on Masterclass says a lot of the same stuff as your Why Movies Matter lecture. You're on the same wavelength as one of the greats. Well, that's good. Always good to hear. For those of you who know what he's talking about, I have a video. I'm not quite sure if you can just search it and find it. Let me do a quick search to see what comes up if I actually type in these exact words here. If I type in... Why Movies Matter. Let's see if it comes up. Yeah, actually, if you do a search for Why Movies Matter, you'll find a video that says Why Movies Matter -AMC Leadership Address. Okay, it'll look something like this. Let me see if I can bring this into frame. I'm not sure if I can, but I'll try. Here we go. Okay, this is what you'll find. This thing with the Why Movies Matter with the big countdown clock on it. Why Movies Matter AMC Leadership Address. You should be able to find that. That is a address. You can see me on there like Steve Jobs. That is a speech I gave in Atlanta. I almost said Atlantic City. In Atlanta during the big annual AMC Leadership Conference. And I gave this little speech on Why Movies Matter. And it's a very special thing to me. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you, go check it out. But thanks for that comparison, Ryan. I appreciate that, man. Eddie Batty writes, John, been watching you and Robert Meyer Burnett for many years, and I'm here on time for the live show. We're glad you could make it, Eddie. I particularly love your perspective on the subjectivity of film. To me, it is undebatable. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing to me. You simply don't get or understand movies at all until you understand the subjectivity of film. Like, no disrespect intended, but when I hear somebody talk about how film's not subjective, I'm not going to insult them or put them down, but I know in the back of my head, there's no point in having any movie discussions with this person, because if you don't understand that fundamental truth about the subjectivity of film, then there's really no point in having a discussion with you, because everything revolves around the understanding of the subjectivity of film. And I've got to get into film discussions with somebody who doesn't get that becomes an incredibly frustrating thing that just quickly devolves into insults and all that kind of stuff. When you get two people debating movies who understand the subjectivity of film, then it can be fun and that can be great. But I'm glad you recognize that, Eddie, and I appreciate that. All right, Matt Brown. On the outside, I was an honest man, straight as an arrow. I had to come to prison to be a crook, from one of the greatest films of all time, Shawshank Redemption. Love that movie. Now watch it. I'm quoting the wrong movie, but I'm pretty sure that's Shawshank Redemption. Good quote, Matt. I like that one. Ryan Lohner writes, release the Snyder Cut of Hellboy. I'm surprised somebody hasn't actually started saying that. You know what? For every bad movie that comes out now, somebody should start a fake petition. Release the Snyder Cut of Hellboy. Release the Snyder Cut of Assassin's Creed, because it's just as real as the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So that would be funny to see. Giovanni, which is a different way to spell it. Giovanni Martinez writes, you need to watch the new It trailer. I have, and it's a shortened version of what they showed us at CinemaCon, but it's great. I loved it. Joshua Rocco writes, hi from Australia. I've been watching John since the day Disney bought Lucasfilm back in the good old AMC. I still remember that day. I was trying to find out all I could and stumbled across your channel. Here's to 7 years. Well, thank you so much. You know what, dude? I still remember exactly where I was. I was in our converted storage closet. It was a really big converted storage closet, but I was in our converted storage closet studio at the AMC Burbank 16 in Burbank, California. And I was in our studio, and I was the last one there. And I believe I was just getting ready to wrap it up for the day. If I remember correctly, when the news broke, it was a little bit later in the day, if I remember correctly. This is going back years now. And I think I was getting ready to leave. And then it was either my news feed popped up or something, the news that Disney bought Lucasfilm, and they were going to bring us new Star Wars films. Yep, I remember exactly where I was. And I remember I gathered all the information I could, scrambled, did a video on it as quickly as I could, and Joshua, then you found us that way. So it was fate. It was destiny, Joshua. Anyway, thank you for reminding me that. I'll never forget where I was that day, man. I'll never forget where I was. Thanks for watching that, and thanks for being along ever since, Joshua. I really appreciate it, man. All right, Ben Rayner writes, is the best of the week coming back for Patrons? Yes, best of the week is coming back. Actually, it's coming back tomorrow. It's been off for a couple of weeks. I just have been completely swamped and inundated. I've been working 7 days a week, and that's one of the things that every Friday, the last couple of Fridays, I got to do that still, and then the day would just slip away on me, and I couldn't do it. But yes, Best of the Week, for those of you who don't know, Best of the Week is a podcast. It's been off for a couple of weeks now, but Best of the Week is a podcast that is exclusively for our Patreon supporters, and that is coming back tomorrow. Keep your eyes open for that. Thanks for bringing it up, Ben. All right. Jamal Gaskin writes, I'm casting Donnie Yen as Shang-Chi. He's got hands. He does, but I think he's a little old for the role. Donnie Yen, because Donnie Yen, I believe, is 57? I could be wrong about that. How old is he? He's 55. Donnie Yen is 55. I think he's a little old to play Shang-Chi. So that's just my thing, but hey, if they announce tomorrow that they cast Donnie Yen, I ain't going to complain. Sebastian Torhamar. God, you got the coolest last name ever. So that Torhamar. I love that. Over under 30%, Tarantino makes the next Star Trek. He's talking about, he just said recently that he believes he's still alive. 30 might be a little bit too high. I would peg it more at like 20 to 25. So I'm going to take the under 30, but it is, Tarantino says it's still alive. So I'm going to take, but again, I would set the number somewhere between 20 and 25. So I'll take the under on 30. Apex Caliber writes, Spidey, Captain Marvel, Dr. S, Strange, I guess, the new Tony, Steve, Thor of the MCU. I don't know. See, like, Spider-Man is nothing like Tony Stark. Captain Marvel is nothing like Captain America, and Doctor Strange is nothing like Thor. So are Are they the new big three? I don't know. I think Black Panther's got to be in that conversation. He is a king. I mean, so you got to put Black Panther in that conversation. So I don't know. It's a good question. That's one worth debating, Apex. That is one worth debating. Anthony R. writes, it's too early to speculate, but do you think Fury will have a hand in forming a new Avengers team? And is it possible the Accords Treaty is lifted? The Accords Treaty. Yeah, because, I mean, they saved the world outside the Accords Treaty. And because of the Accords Treaty and the Avengers being split, that's opened the door for Thanos to win in Infinity War. Maybe. But does Fury even need to form a new Avengers team? The Avengers are all still there. I mean, Cap is, not Cap anymore, and Tony's dead, but everybody else is still there. Widow's gone too, but there are still a bunch of members there. You still have Hawkeye, whether or not he wants to be or not, that's going to be up for debate. You've got Captain Marvel, who apparently had been a member of the Avengers now for 5 years. You got Okoye, who apparently has been a member of the Avengers for 5 years. You've got Rhodey, who's been a member of the Avengers ongoing. You still have Wanda there. So there's still a lot of pieces of the Avengers puzzles there. So I don't know if he has to remake them. I don't know if they ever say that the Avengers are disbanded. Hulk is still there. Falcon is still there. Yeah, I just think he keeps them together. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, just reached the Doom Patrol episode of Titans, and I'm seriously tempted to just skip to that show. Dude, I'm telling you what, look, there are a lot of people who like that Titan show. I found out they shoot it in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which to me makes it one of the greatest TV shows ever. But then I watched it, and I watched the whole first season, and I think it's okay. It's not bad. I don't think Titans isn't bad. It's got some definite highlight moments. But I also didn't think it was anything. I'm not sitting here pining for season 2. Let's just say that. I didn't think it was anything tremendously special. Doom Patrol, on the other hand, I think has been spectacular. I've been loving Doom Patrol. And I was going to skip Doom Patrol, but enough of you guys told me I should check it out. And I did. And I'm super glad that you did, because I'm loving that show. Mark Blazer writes, in relation to Brightburn, isn't that kid in Endgame in the scene where Ant-Man became a kid? I don't know. Maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. No, actually, that is him. That is him. Oh, God, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name now. But that's a good eye, Mark Blaza. As a matter of fact, that is the same kid. Not the baby version, not the old man version, but the younger kid version of Scott that comes out of the time machine. That is the same kid starring in Brightburn. So good eye on you, man. Good eye on you. All right. Thabo Munalua writes, pronounced Tabo or Tabo. All right, Tabo. All right, thank you for that. From Zambia. Wow, thanks for writing from Zambia, man. While watching Transformers 5, I saw a desert scene location. Namib Desert, West Africa. It's actually in Southern Africa. At least the film gave me something to remember. That's great. It's like, oh, really? Something that Michael Bay didn't pay close attention to because he just didn't care? Surprising. I love how you wrote that, though. At least it gave me something to remember the film by. Remembering as, it's not in West Africa, it's in South Africa. That's great. Thank you for bringing that up, Tabo. I appreciate that, man. All right. Haskell 420 writes, the 616 is in Thor Dark World on Selvig's Blackboard, the 616 multiverse, and more listed on it. Whether that's really brought in is another thing. Yeah, a lot of people confuse Easter eggs with canon, right? A lot of people confuse Easter eggs with canon. Like, just because something is an Easter egg in a movie, it can quite often just be a tip of the cap. It doesn't necessarily confirm or mean that is canon in that universe. It can quite often just mean a little tip of the cap. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So we'll see if the 616 turns out to be that. We'll have to just wait and see, but it's a good observation, Haskell. All right. Patrick Conway writes, Star Wars TRS, OS, The Rise of Skywalker makes $1.3 billion. Will Disney really wait 3 years? Yes. Yeah. If even if, and I believe Star Wars Episode 9 is going to join the $1 billion club, but even if it does and makes like 1.3, 1.4, hell, even 1.5, will that automatically make them change their timetable? No, I don't think so. I think they put out that timetable Disney has proven to not be a knee-jerk reactionist kind of body, where it's like, oh, we made our plans, but this movie made a little bit more than we thought. Oh my God, we should change our plans. Like, I don't think they generally do that. They change as a result of things over time. I don't think they would make a knee-jerk reaction like that, so I doubt it. El Cartoon writes, have you seen Bahubali? It's a fun Hindi film. Think Aladdin plus The Lord of the Rings. That sounds like a trippy mix, man. I like that. But no, I look, honestly, I barely have enough time to keep up with all the movies and the TV shows. I fall behind on that shit all the time. I have not watched much foreign film in the last couple, straight up, not nearly as much as I've wanted to. So I got to admit that I have not, but thank you for recommending it to our viewers, man. I'm sure there's a few people who are going to check it out now. All right, Stubble McShave writes, is it possible that Marvel and Sony will use the multiverse MacGuffin to have Spider-Man jump between the Sonyverse and the MCU? We speculated on that earlier this week, mainly because, remember, when Spider-Man was coming out, and one of the producers, Amy Pascal, who was from Sony, she was saying, yeah, so we got Spider-Man in the MCU now, and that's where he belongs, and we've got the Sony films happening, and they're in different universes, but they're in the same reality. And wait, what? And Kevin Feige kind of reacted? Some people thought he reacted because she thought she said something stupid, but now we're looking back at that and thinking Kevin Feige might have reacted because she was letting something slip. Maybe. I still don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. But maybe it's possible. It does open the door for that. So I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but it does indeed open the possibility for that. All right. Chris Pevoto writes, in regards to MCU releasing spoilers and trailers, completely disrespect. I know mil are a small number, but some are doing real world work that they can't stop and go see in the first 2 weeks. Sucks for us serving. See, that's the point I was making earlier, Chris. There are two sides to this story. I get it. We've got a Spider-Man movie coming out in 2 months. You have to start marketing that movie, because some of the basic underlying, just the basic premise of the movie is a spoiler for Spider-Man or for Avengers Endgame. But you got to market it. So there's that. So since that's out there already, now Endgame, which has already gotten everybody to see it, they're like, now we need to change our marketing strategy to getting people to come back. That means showing them and reminding them of some of the big highlight moments. But that means that there are some people out there who haven't seen the movie yet. And by the way, for anybody out there going, well, if you're a real Marvel fan, you've seen it already. Shut up. That's not true. There are people with lives and jobs and families, and it's not the most important thing in the world to rush out to see a movie right away. You know, and if that might mean, God, and it's God, it's not like we're even talking 2 months. It's not like we're saying the movie's been out for 2 months. The movie's been out for 2 weeks. As of today, the movie's only been out for 2 weeks. Right? And because I'm seeing some people say a bunch of BS stuff like, oh, well, if you haven't seen it by now, then you're just not really a fan. You're not a real fan. Shut up. That's not true at all. Just because you live at home with your mom and dad and you don't have to pay rent and you don't have 2 jobs and trying to make ends meet and have kids and blah, 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 that doesn't mean other people don't. And just because maybe you do live on your own and you have a job and maybe you have a kid and a family, that doesn't mean everybody's circumstances are as flexible as yours. And it's not like you go, well, I'm going to skip my kid's thing because I'm a real Marvel fan. No, then you're an idiot if you're skipping your kid's thing to go do that. All I'm saying is, I think we got to be understanding that there are people who are real Marvel fans that really haven't had a chance to see it yet. But it is 2 sides to the coin, because that doesn't change the fact that Marvel's in a position now where they know that most people have seen it. They're now in a marketing mode of not bringing in people to see it, but rather bringing in people to see it again. So they alter their marketing. And they've got to market the Spider-Man movie. So that's why, to me, Chris, I said, I don't know how to look at this. It's a tough situation that Marvel's in. It's a great problem to have. It's a wonderful problem to have. But it is a bit of a dilemma. And It's hard, man. It's hard. So I can completely respect where you're coming from, Chris. I really can. All right. Santez Henderson writes, if true that they pulled Ryan Johnson's trilogy, I'm fine with it. I like him, but Lucasfilm hasn't proven that they know how to manage things with people being fired long after production begins. That has happened a number of times. Best to focus on one thing at a time. I mean, look, I am a Star Wars defender, but even I will tell you that one of the really disturbing patterns that we've seen out of this Lucasfilm regime has been how many times in a small number of films that directors were brought on only later to be fired. That's happened a number of times. 3 or 4 times. It's not just the Lord and Miller thing. I mean, if you go over, it's happened another times. Like, if you can't get the job right of making sure you have the right director for your project before hiring them and before announcing them, if you can't make sure that you and your potential director are on the same page before you announce them and before you hire them and all that kind of stuff, then you're not doing your job right. And look, it's going to happen from time to time, but I feel like it's happened 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 films. And that's not good. So I agree with you, Santez. That has been one of the big weaknesses out of this Lucasfilm regime. Now, I love The Force Awakens. I love that movie. I love Rogue One. I liked The Last Jedi, and I quite enjoyed Solo, actually. Solo worked out well, even though it's a movie nobody asked for. But that you cannot just ignore that is a big, significant issue that they've had. And it makes me... Look, and I'm a Kathleen Kennedy fan. Steven Spielberg said she's the most gifted producer he's ever worked with, and he's the greatest filmmaker of all time. And so I love Kathleen Kennedy, but it is tough to have a lot of faith in Kathleen Kennedy when the most fundamental, important part of her job, make sure you get the right directors on board, and they've really fallen on their face on that a number of times. It was great to get Ron Howard, yes, but that was after the disaster you had with Lord Miller. It's great to have JJ back, but that was after you fired the guy who was supposed to do it. You know, with all the director drama that went on with Rogue One, and there are other stories like that. It's just, it makes it hard to have a lot of confidence. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the defender, but I'm telling you, it makes it difficult to have a lot of confidence. So I can totally see where you're coming from, Santez Henderson, because I am a fan. And it makes me concerned as a fan when I see things that are questionable. And it's questionable right now. Here's hoping they get everything going in the right direction. Christian Lomas writes, would love a limited series on Disney Plus of Cap's mission to return the stones and see him and Red Skull again. Then it ends with him and Peggy married. Somebody brought that up earlier too. I'll be honest with you, I have no interest in that at all. Because we already know, we already know everything. We know where he's got to go to return this and that it succeeds. He goes to return this and succeeds. It goes there to return this and succeeds. And like what Rob and I said earlier, and I'm sure you're not alone, Christian, because I'm sure other people would love to see that too. But here's why I'm not on that boat personally, is because that sounds like a 5-minute flashback scene. That sounds like a 5 to 10 minute flashback scene. Like, 2 years ago, Captain America goes back in time, then in just 10 minutes, you give us the thing of what happened there. That sounds more like that than it does like a limited series or a thing, because we already know how it all works out. And so, yeah, that's just kind of the way I feel about it. All right. Seat DeVito writes, John, Gamora is green and Nebula is blue and robotic. Not quite sure what that's in reference to, but you're right. Gamora is green and Nebula is blue and robotic, but I don't know what that's in reference to. JB Bonifacio writes, my favorite 3D was Hubble 3D and U2 3D. Watch it 5 times. You know, oddly enough, U2's my favorite all-time band. I've never seen U2 3D. Honestly, never have. Which is weird because they're my favorite band. I should probably get around to watching that at some point. Thanks for reminding me of that, JB. All right, Paths Unwritten writes, on your left should be with you to the end of the line. With you to the end of the line is a great line, but I don't know that it works in that scene the way on your left works in that scene. Because on your left, that fits the scene, right? With you to the end of the line, not really something that fits that scene as much. The on your left thing is like, hey, here we come, right? That's what that says. And that's why I think it was great. But I'm not going to disagree with you, though, past that. Maybe at some point in there, they should have worked in the line, "I'm with you to the end of the line." That should have probably been used at some point, but not in that one particular scene, I don't think. So anyway, that's just how I see it. All right. XX Your Disease writes, Fartchet is actually my favorite Pokemon. Yeah, so this morning we were talking about, I was just talking about, I don't know who any of the Pokemon are. I said, for all I know, there's a Pokemon called Fartshit, and I would have no idea. I would have no idea. Now you're saying that's actually your favorite Pokemon. I struck gold. Thanks for that, Your Disease. All right. Costark 180 writes, do you think 2D animated features will come back? No, I don't. Now, do not interpret me as saying, no, because I don't like 2D animation. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's not value in it. I'm not saying there's any of that. I'm just saying that's not what the audience is looking for today. I don't know that you get an audience to go out en masse to watch a traditionally 2D animated film anymore. Now, I don't know that you don't, but I just think you would have a hard time getting an audience out for it. I'm not saying it wouldn't be great. I'm not saying the artistic merits aren't there to do something like that. I'm just saying I don't know that there's the interest in it from the general audience so you get people out to see it. I just don't know. So I doubt it. I doubt it at this part. Maybe we'll have a resurgence someday, but in the immediate future, not so much. All right, final question of the day comes to us from Brent Fremming, who writes, Universal also owns part of Namor. I believe Universal is in that. The Namor rights are a convoluted mess. I think Warner or Marvel got most of them back, but I still believe there are issues, and I do believe Universal's part of that, but I don't know for sure, to be honest with you. But the problem with Hulk is definitely Marvel and Universal. That's the definitely thing for Hulk. Namor is another convoluted mess. I'll be honest, I've never fully understood. I should talk to some people and see if I can get a better picture of all that. All right, guys. That will do it for this installment of the companion video. We are now all caught up on all the stuff that you guys have sent in. Thank you guys so much for sending in these topics because they give us some great fun stuff to talk about, but also because you guys support the channel when you do it in that way, and I appreciate it that much. Oh, and by the way, you see me drinking from this. Would you like your own John Campea mug or a John Campea shirt? Look down below underneath this video, and you should see a merchandising tray on my YouTube page here under one of these videos, and you can get your own John Campea mug, shirt, whatever, hat maybe even, and go ahead and grab that. Anyway, guys, don't forget the John Campea Show will be back tomorrow morning. Make sure you come back and join me then. That'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.